man. Check, check. Okay. I don't know what happened earlier on the other stream. It's always something. What is this right here, man?
Wayfair presents lighting. Get the latest looks with top fixtures at low price.
Okay, well, it's showing right here. Wow. This is crazy. What's going on, y'all? Let me change this. Like it looked like I got two streams going on at the same time. That's why I'm tripping. What's going on, y'all? Like it looked like I got two streams going on at the same time. That's why I'm tripping. How's everybody doing? Peace to the gods. Peace to the gods. Thank you for the 20 bones. Peace to the gods. Let me what's this? Who is it? Ambience for life. Peace to the gods, Brother Yusef. Glad you made it back safely. You were saying something about black devils back in Portugal, but you froze. What were you saying? I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk about that briefly, and we're going to talk about some more things. First and foremost, let me make sure everything is going okay. I killed the last stream and started another, so I guess y'all found this okay. We're going to talk about. Let me find this real quick. Why I got that on my mind? These black devils. These black devils. Black devils. I'll talk about it. I'll just talk about it. What was I talking about, black devils? All right. First of all, you have to understand that a devil, a lot of people have this conception about a devil. We need to get into, well, what is a devil? And we can see in Revelations 18:2, where it says Babylon the Great has fallen and has become the habitation of devils in the plural, meaning that there is more than one devil. In Islam, you would call them a jinn, okay? These are physical beings as well as spiritual beings. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, especially in Christianity. They usually have this concept in their mind that the devil is some angel that fell from heaven and he's some sort of ectoplasmic, invisible force that manifests himself, whatever, But when I say devil, I'm talking about a character type, Okay, this is something about a person's character, and it's usually something that's always very, very negative. And you have a lot of black people like that as well. When we get back in history and we talk about the cherubim and the seraphim angels and the fall from heaven, and in some black organizations, they say that the original man is the black man, and I was in a organization like that. Well, it also stood to reason that if the original man was the black man, then the original devil was a black man as well. Okay, so through this deductive reasoning, this is how we came to the conclusion. Now, you see this manifest in personality types within our race. You have a lot of individuals who are negative. For instance, I have an individual, I posted something, like there's always somebody coming at me on my channel. I don't know what for, but there's always somebody that is mad about something, somebody I don't know, somebody that I've never met in my life, that doesn't know anything about me personally or anything like that. And not to say I'm a perfect person. I'm far beyond perfect. I'm just the kind of person, I just don't give a fuck what you think about me. I just really don't. But I just made a statement about my travel, and this individual, oh yeah, he started talking about my flight I had with Grant Cardone, and I don't give a fuck about people, and I just want to enjoy stuff for myself and things like this. And I'm like, well, goddamn. I'm saying, well, I did save for my trip for like 3 or 4 years. I've never gone overseas any of my life. When can I do that if I have the opportunity to do that? If I have the opportunity to do it. I can't take me a trip overseas, I saved up like thousands of dollars over time, and I just decided to go. I did have the ability to go from, and notwithstanding the fact that I do my business is 100% completely on the internet, so I can work anywhere in the world, but they were just mad about it. Just mad. Anything that you say positive. I'll give you another example. I talked about a post with Cardi B, and Cardi B and Offset, they having some problems, and and Cardi B was being interviewed by on a talk show, and everybody was talking about how ghetto she was, and you can't take the ghetto out of a woman, and blah 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 blah, just negative. And I said, Cardi B is rich, she is famous, she's married, and has a family. Bless you, Cardi B, because we need to see more of that. I got attacked by all these people. She had the same problems we have, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what they don't understand, this devil is a person that doesn't understand that if you're going to have a positive life, you have to immerse yourself in positivity. You get what you give. If you put out negativity, you're going to get nothing but negativity back in your life. And I had to start seeing that as well. Like people would make a comment, I used to respond, I just block them now. Some people I don't even respond to, I just block them. I see they're negative, they don't want to be in my space, so I help them along the way. So that's what that was, all about, talking about black devils. There's actually a book called The Black Devil. I was gonna see if I could, I'm gonna go ahead and make the effort and see if I can pull it up so y'all can see the book, what I'm talking about. It's, oh yeah, I'll be able to pull it up. Let me see. Let's see. What was it at? Yeah, it was in the PDF file. It's on SBC University too. If you're on SBC University, I have it on SBC University, and it's under the esoteric folder in Dr. York. And yep, there it is right there. Let's see if I can, let me see if I can put it on the screen. Let me see if I can put it on the screen for you. So I can put this on the screen. Actually, wait a minute, hold on. Do it down here. screen capture. Yeah, screen capture. Yep, that's it right there. Okay. Oh, no, that's not it. Right here. All right. This is the book right here. Are there black devils? Um, when I first got introduced to this book years ago, this ain't the original. This was a very, very, very good book. It was a book put out by our organization, but I think it was one of the better books that got put out because what it did, it tempered our prejudice. How people have a tendency to be prejudiced, especially if you're in a pro-black organization like the Nation of Islam or the Hebrew Israelites or something like that. You're going to have a tendency to be very, very pro-black, if you will. And the white man is the devil and blah, 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 blah. But the reason I like this is because it took an examination of our people. And I think what happens is a lot of times when you look at our people, we refuse to explore all the negativity that's within our race. Other races address it. This is one of the reasons I think that we can't advance because we don't have any type of security features in our race to take care of traitors, to take care of backstabbers, to take care of black devils within our race, women and men. We don't have that. In other races, you see that. They're not going to betray their race. They end up, they may disappear. Women aren't going to be whores. They're going to get cast out of society and shamed. And so they call it controlling. I'm getting to the point I don't even care when the women say if it's controlling or not. I'm like, that don't mean anything to me. It's like men run the world. They do. You got to accept that fact. We make the decisions. If you're fighting for your rights, who's giving you your rights? Men are giving you your rights. Who is enforcing your rights? Men are enforcing your rights. Men build the cars you're in, the roads, the buildings, the bed you sleep on, everything about this world. So, but men, as men, we need to be aware of the negative influence in our particular circles and have measures put in place to eradicate that from our space. You got to cast the devil out. And we have to accept the fact that there are black people who are devils. Black people, they're black devils, man. I see them all the time. You guys, I was on, y'all probably saw my live. I was on Instagram doing a live, and I was doing all this positive talk, talking about how you can manifest things in your life and use your mind. And so a guy just came out and just said, well, you sold out, you got a driver's license so you can do business and all that. He just started doing all that. And that's something I'm going to talk about today, because I think a lot of people who follow me, they have a misunderstanding. A lot of people, they'll just come over here and they just automatically assume that I teach what all the other gurus teach, which to me is indicative of their level of intelligence, because they don't do due diligence. So they're not in a position to basically give their opinion on anything, because they have the habit of jumping the gun before they do adequate research and are able to understand what it is that they're dealing with. And that's one of the 48 laws of power: know with whom you deal. And a lot of them don't. They just come in and start talking about, oh, where's the secret account? Oh, you said that money is no good, and all, and then just misquote me, take things out of context and things like that. So today we're going to address some of those things. Let's see, first and foremost. So I hope that was real quick. Jack, peace, brother. To schedule a consultation payment processor through Cash App, yes, you can. But wait, you have to schedule it on the website, and don't send me any money. I don't want anybody sending me any money for consultations until I confirm the consultation with you. I'll confirm the consultation by sending you a text message, and then you can send it then. But I'm not taking advance money so people can just keep inundating me. I paid you my money. When am I going to get mine? Like, look, no, I'm not doing that. Do you see how many people are in front of you? So I don't want to do that. So we're not going to be doing that. Daniel Cardenas, thank you for the $5. Jack, thank you for the 5 bones, brother. I appreciate it. The original man is the Asiatic black man, and the original man named Yaqub is the father of the devil, so that made him not only God, but a devil. And, that's the Yakub story, the big head scientist. We taught that too, that the devil was extracted from the black man. They took the devil out of the black man. That's one narrative that circulates within, pro-black circles and things of that nature. But I don't really get into any of that. That may have some relevance, and it may be true. I don't know. I don't have any way of verifying any of those stories. All I can do is gauge what's in front of me and, do an assessment of different characteristics that I see present, and then kind of juxtapose that with ancient writings and kind of verify some things that way. All right. I've seen a lot of Yusef videos, and I've caught on the way he says things that only the private man can catch on to. That's exactly right. I appreciate that. So that's what that was about. But today we are going to talk about how to take this step by step. All right, how to take this step by step. So, and you can see these are all the books. If you're on SBC University, you got access to all of this stuff. I don't know if people are, I got a PDF library. I got an esoteric on SBC University's esoteric folder. It has a ton of books. What is that? Where is the miscellaneous section right here? It got to be probably about over 1,000 and something different books on everything that you can just possibly think of that has anything to do with anything esoteric. Obviously, definitely a lot of jewels in there. I've had people just want the membership just because of that. Thousands of books on there that you have access to. But today I want to talk about public and private, and see if I can pull it up real quick. Yes, I want to talk about public and private. Is that it right here? Yep. See if I can get all this in here. Yeah, let's see. I did. All right. All right. Okay, now, today I want to talk about, I'm going to do some teaching today. And the reason I'm going to do some teaching is because of what I was talking about earlier about people coming to my page having some sort of preconceived notion about what they think the message I'm trying to put out. I tell people all the time, I'm not here to give you a remedy. I'm not here to do any of those things. Most of the people say you don't have remedy. These dudes don't even know what a remedy is. And I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what a remedy is also, because I can see how they talk to me. I'm like, you don't even know what a remedy is. A remedy is a right. It's a commercial right. And remedies are enforced through contracts and in equity. Okay, that's the remedy. That's why you do an administrative process. The administrative process is your remedy. But these guys, I don't know what they are. I don't know what they think, or I just don't understand it. But perhaps today I'm gonna give some clarification, because I think there needs to be a systematic approach to this information. And so I'm going to start doing my videos in a sequential order. And the first thing that people have to understand is, okay, well, obviously right here, what is a right? What is a right? Because you'll see guys talking about, what is the remedy, Yusef? Do you have remedy? Yusef don't have remedy. And they even how they talk is in a colloquialism. It's not even the correct way of stating it. Do you have remedy? But anyway, a remedy is this. Let me make sure this is showing up. Okay. Well, I'm looking at remedy right now. I'm supposed to be looking at right. Okay, hold on. Let me go over to right. And then we're going to look at remedy. Okay, what is a right? Okay, a right, number one. Now, I got all of these definitions either off of Westlaw, one of the Cornell University, or something at Cornell University Law School. I just copied and pasted. So it's coming right off one of those websites. So a right, a power or privilege held by the general public as a result of a constitution, statute, regulation, judicial precedent, or other type of law. Now, this is the first sense of the word. Okay? Sense two, a legally enforceable claim held by someone as the result of specific events or transactions. For instance, someone who enters a contract has the right to expect performance from the other party or proper compensation for non-performance. Remember earlier that I said you have your rights enforced by contracts. All right? Everything moves in contracts. All right? That is what we are doing at the secured party level, is that you are creating just because you have a right, that don't mean anything until something is reduced down to writing. That's what the 10 maxims of commercial law. For a matter to be resolved, it must be expressed. I think that's maxim number 4 or 5. For a matter to be resolved, it must be expressed. So we have to reduce things down into writing. We have to have a system in place where we can get agreements, okay? And then we can take it to the proper form and have it adjudicated. And now something becomes enforceable. So the game that's being played out here, there isn't any money. If there's no money, people don't understand when I say that. When I say there's no money, I'm saying there's no gold or silver, constitutionally mandated gold and silver. If you are watching this program and you don't know that the only kind of money that there is gold and silver, I don't know what to tell you. I did not use the word medium of exchange. There are different mediums of exchanges. We're not talking about that. Money has always been, for as long as recorded history, has been gold and silver. Countries to this day do business with each other in gold or silver. So it's gold and silver. Anything else is credit. That came right from, who was that? Rockefeller said that. It's the only thing, or was it? No, I think it was J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan said it. He said, oh, money is gold and silver. Everything else is credit. So we're dealing with credit instruments, or we're dealing with debt instruments. Creditors and debtors is the world that we live in because there's no money. So these are some of the foundational things that we have to come into an understanding of. There isn't any money. There's a public and a private, and they don't mix. You have to understand the demarcation line that separates public and private. It is very important for you to understand that. What constitutes public and what constitutes private? None of these things are going to work for you. That is the very reason why you have so much confusion within the sovereign circles, is because they are saying, and it is rightly so, people do think they can do whatever they want to do. And I'm here to tell you that you can't. You can do whatever you want to do in the private. You cannot do whatever you want to do in the public. The public is the domain of government. They are God in that domain. You are God in the private domain. The superior man stays within his own domain. So one of the skill sets that you have to develop in utilizing this information is to learn how to maintain privacy. That is the skill. There is a website devoted to this. It is called, not Lamponics, but they sell the paper trip, Eden Press. Eden, Eden Press, PRESS.com. That website is a privacy catalog. They devoted to everything about privacy. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm teaching about trust and how to move in a commercial world without using your social security number, because the social security number was issued by the federal government. And the federal government only taxes you on benefits and privileges. Like American Express, they say membership has its privileges. Well, it's the same thing. Your membership card is a social security card. You need to start looking at it like that. When they issue you a social security card, that is a member card that gives you access. It gives you access to federal benefits and privileges. of which you're going to pay a membership fee, what they call a tax. You're not taxed in the private. Tax law is not in the private. You're not taxed on your rights. You're taxed on, if you're receiving a tax on something, you're utilizing a benefit and a privilege. At least that's what those people are letting you know. Yeah, Eating Press is still up. That goes by. Why don't you just look over there? Somebody asks, is Eating Press still up? Lampoonix, I'm looking at it right now. This Eating Press right here. Somebody says Eating Press still up. That's Eating Press website right here. And on this website is where I first came into a book. This is what started me on my journey. It's a book called The Paper Trip. And this is it. They on number 4. This is it right here. But when I first discovered this, I was looking for a way to change my fingerprints. All right, because I was hustling and doing things. So I went into a spy shop and asked the guy who owned it. I said, "Do you have any books on fingerprints?" And he looked at me as like I was the police. He stared at me for a long time. And then he just pointed over to a shelf of books. And I got the Paper Trip number 1. And in there, it teaches you how to change your fingerprints. But it's very, very painful. It involves using the acid out of liquid Drano, studying the different points that are on. When they scan fingerprints, there's certain points on there that the scanner's looking at, learning what those points are and destroying them using a razor blade and this acid out of liquid Drano. I mean, it was just too involved for me to even try to get into that. So I discovered something better and less invasive. It's called liquid latex. If you get some liquid latex and paint it on your finger and let it dry, you'll see you peel it up, you'll have a perfect impression of your fingerprint put in the reverse. I shouldn't probably be putting this stuff out here, but sometimes I have to let people know what type of level I was on, that I was never been a follower. I've always been someone, whether on the right side of the law, on the wrong side of the law. I was always a leader and always innovative in a lot of things that I did. But anyway, but that's some information. But I'm always talking about this website because that's where that first book I ever discovered. And also that book had taught me about CPN numbers. They didn't call them CPN numbers back then. This is like in 91, 92, 93. I didn't hear that word CPN until about 2006 or 7, 8, something like that. About 2008, 9, probably about 2010 actually. Somewhere in there. That's when I first heard the word CPN. I never knew what it was. And, it's just amazing how things survive. It's always been around since the longest, but it took on different names. And that name CPN, it was privacy number or certified privacy number. I forgot what it was, but it's always been around, but they didn't call it CPN. They were using tax ID numbers where you go to the IRS and you incorporate your name. And then from that, you use the EIN or tax identification number from that as your social security number. Then you go to the DMV. You have them change your driver's license number. Then you change the address on your driver's license to an address you've never used before. Back then, we were using mailbox, et cetera, because they had suite numbers, and we put that on our driver's license. From there, after you did all of that, then you would use your tax ID number to apply for credit. You're going to get denied. There is a computer that is actually monitoring everything that's going to automatically create a new credit file for you. That's how they do it. It's not a human being doing it, and that's why it's been persisting for so long. I do think that eventually they're going to stop it, but it's kind of hard for them to, because so many people, stars, public officials, and everything utilize that information, as well as the fact that you're not required to have a social security number. Having a social security number is voluntary, and social security numbers were never meant to be identifiers. Just interesting to me. How they enforce it is that businesses can decide to do business with you or not based off whether or not you provide your social security number. A lot of people would like to talk about the illegality of it, but honestly, what they're really talking about is identity theft. They're talking about people who use babies, birth certificates, or social security cards, and just things like that. You know, they purposely obfuscate what they're talking about when they talk about the wrong side of CPN numbers. When you can clearly go to, if we go to this right here, this is the FBI website. You can see FBI.gov/stat services, publications, mortgage fraud. This is during mortgage fraud. And the reason they put it on mortgage fraud, because there are a lot of individuals who use CPNs for fraudulent purposes. If you're one of those individuals, I'd tell you to please stop, okay? Stop thinking that you're just gonna buy a new car, not pay on it, drive it, impress your friends about 3 or 4 months, and then let the car get repossessed. You are a fool amongst fools. If you have an opportunity to get a new credit file, you should do everything in your power to preserve that credit file. You don't even understand how valuable that is. All right? A fucking car that means absolutely nothing in the larger scheme of things. I gotta get this new car. It's just ridiculous. All right? So right here, you can see down here at the bottom, and I always have to do this when I start talking about CPNs, because there's always going to be somebody in the audience talking about that's illegal. So I have to catch them, you know, as their mouth is opening back and forth. Wait a minute, where is it at? Hell, they might have taken it. Oh, here it is. Right here. You see right here? This is what the FBI had to say about CPN numbers. All right, credit privacy numbers, CPNs, are 9-digit file numbers that follow the same algorithm as Social Security account numbers. Currently, federal law allows the individual to legally use CPNs for financial reporting and protects those individuals who do not wish to disclose their Social Security account numbers. Individuals who acquire CPNs are completely responsible for any debt they incur using this number. Acquiring a CPN is supposed to be a free service. Therefore, websites that offer CPNs for a fee are most likely scammers. And see, the credit bureaus may not like this, but credit bureaus are privately owned businesses. They family-owned businesses. You can't require the government to utilize Social Security numbers for credit. It wasn't meant for that purpose. As a matter of fact, the early Social Security cards had stamped right on there, not for identification purposes. So I studied the whole thing from the Social Security Administration on this. I need to do a class on that too, because that was very, very interesting, where they start explaining how they started using your Social Security number as identifiers. It did not come from the government. It came from you being irresponsibly and loosely giving up your Social Security number freely until it became mainstream. That's really the underlying problem with all of this, is you done voluntarily submitted to these people jurisdiction by voluntarily giving them this information, something that they were never required to have. Yeah, but I'm going back you talking about financial aid, I'm going back, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about 1960s, 50s. I'm talking back then. That's when they started getting a hold on all of this. All right, so that's the mortgage fraud report. So let's go back to this. Okay. So we were looking at a right. So I was talking about a right. A right is enforceable through contracts. I just want you to remember that. A right is enforceable through contracts. You need a contract. You need a contract. You need an agreement. You need a stipulation between the parties. You need an agreement, all right, of what your rights are. You can say, well, I have a right to have a gun, but then you could give up that right by signing some sort of contract, negating that right, because you got something on paper where you voluntarily submitted to something unknowingly. Number 3, loosely. any situation or decision that seems proper or correct by virtue of legal, moral, or ethical ideals, namely the opposite of wrong. This kind of right may not be legally enforceable. For instance, there may never be a constitution, statute, or judicial precedent that forces people to respect their elders, even though many people agree that respecting one's elders is the right thing to do. So he's using right in that sense. But we're going to look at number 2, all right, sense 2. All right, so we're talking about rights, all right? So next, we're going to look at remedy, because I hear this word so much, so much. You got remedy. You have remedy? And they just say it like, how they say it just trips me out, you know. You have remedy. You know, everybody takes I guess the reason I don't like a lot of stuff like that is because they will take law and turn it into a slang, when this the one thing you can't ever do that in. You can't take law. Law is scientific. All the words have specific meanings. Every syllable in a sentence has a specific meaning. You have to understand that when you're drafting legal documents or anything for that matter, every single word means something. So you would do best as when you're even discussing these subjects to use proper grammar, use proper sentence structure. You got to practice doing things the right way. So everything is not, you know, everything just can't be just hood all the time, you know. Where is this thing at? Did I not upload it? Oh, here it is. Remedy. Damn, it was the last one. All right, remedy. Let's look at this real quick. What is a remedy? Remedy is a form of court enforcement of a legal right. That's why I went to right first. From a successful lawsuit, remedies fall into 3 general categories. So next time you hear someone talk about remedies, remember there are 3 general categories of remedies. The first one is damages. All right, have you been injured? Have you been able to demonstrate an injury? All right, before you can be rewarded damages. Monetary compensation for the plaintiff's losses. Injury and or pain or restitutionary measures designed to restore the plaintiff's status to what it was prior to the violation of his or her rights. All right, so there's damages. Then we have coercive remedies, requiring a party to do or omit doing a specific act through injunctive relief or a court order a specific performance, like paying child support. We know what an injunction is, to prevent somebody from doing something, or as you have a court order, you know, to pay child support or whatever, you know. So a court mandates the party fulfill contractual obligations, see contracts. And then another remedy is a declaratory judgment. They use these a lot in trust law. All right, when there is an argument between the beneficiaries and the trustees as to the spirit, will, and intent of the settlor in the indenture agreement. Okay, so if there's an argument, you go get a declaratory judgment. In other words, you let the judge decide the meaning of the document. Since y'all can't come to an agreement on what the meaning of it is, a judge will decide what the meaning of it is. So a declaratory judgment, the court determines individual rights in a specific situation without awarding damages or ordering particular action. All it is just announcing what the rights are. This is why when you do an administrative process, you can ask for judicial review and get a declaratory judgment as to what the rights of the parties are. You know, let the judge tell you whenever he can read your document and come to determine a determination of its legal efficacy, and then whether or not you have any grounds to take it further. A next step. All right, so let's see. Let's get back. Let me make sure that everybody's following along. Okay, is everybody following along so far? Keep up the great work and dropping gems, and thank that Rasta King E. All right, so we just talked about what a right is and what a remedy is. A right is and what a remedy, because obviously we're talking about rights. And what remedies do we have if those rights are violated? Okay, that's one of the reasons we came up with secure party or any other type of what they call process that you're utilizing out there is a result of someone attempting to enforce their rights. Okay, but we got to make sure that we have a firm understanding of our rights and whether or not they do truly exist. And if so, how do we get access to them? All right. So the next thing that we need to understand is we need to understand the difference between public and private. Okay. All right. There's a definition for public law and private law. You can Google this yourself. Public law is constitutional law, administrative law, criminal law, tax law, public international law. Now, in the beginning of this, constitutional law is in the public because the Constitution is the document that forms government and restrains government. All right? Public is synonymous with the word government. That's what it means, like public school. It's really government-funded school. All right? It's something that has public in it, is referencing the government and the government's interaction with other legal persons. We're going to talk about what a legal person is as well, because that is the only thing the government interacts with. This comes right off of their own website, and it even goes as far as to tell you that legal persons are most of the time talking about corporations, not what they call natural persons. So the government, this is what we mean when we're using the all caps name. The all caps name is a representation of this artificial person or this legal fiction entity. But you try to pretend as if putting everything in all caps doesn't mean anything. When, as I said earlier, law is scientific. There is a specific reason you are doing that. And if you don't know, it's not that I'm wrong, it's just that you are wallowing in ignorance. If you're an attorney, I know your hubris and your arrogance won't allow you to understand that, but that's going to be your undoing. So I got that taken care of. We got the three categories of, we got coercive remedies, we got damages, and then we got what? Declaratory judgment. Okay? So if there is an injury, we need to know what an injury is. Right? I didn't do that one, but write that word down. You need to know what an injury is. Because a lot of you people say, well, can I sue the judge? And I'll come back and say, well, how were you injured? Well, you know, he ruled against me. Well, you don't have any evidence. If you didn't win in court, you definitely don't have any evidence for grounds for some sort of injury. You need to first establish that you are indeed right. But you just want to just, because you don't like the outcome of something, you ready to, how were you injured? You got to be able to, put that on paper. All right, so there's a public and a private, and public law, law breaks down like this. There's natural law at the top. Okay, the natural law is God's laws. One of the things that they do in their obfuscation techniques is try to deny the existence of God. This is one of the tools of the mentally challenged leftists who are atheists and who are doing everything in their power to pass and do anything that spits at religion in its face. And, the religious people are looking kind of weak because they're not retaliating. They're just passively going along with a lot of this stuff that's going on, But the public law is constitutional law because the Constitution is in the public. There is no constitutional law in the private. In the private, you can do whatever you want, when you want, how you want, wherever you want, as long as you want, as long as you don't infringe on anybody else's right to do the same thing. You're actually not under any law when you're in the private. There are no laws in the private, not laws like government laws that you have to follow. The government comes and gets you. When you break one of their laws, they arrest you, but before they do that, they have to go get a what? A warrant. The warrant is warranting that they're going to get somebody for the statutory violation. Then they can come into the private and get you, but they have to have an affidavit to do that. To go into the private, to pull somebody into the public is very serious. So you have to violate one of their public laws. You have to encroach on their territory. And now they're justified in coming and getting you out of the private and pulling you into the public and charging you with something. Because normally they only deal with other artificial entities. As a matter of fact, if anyone would go down to the law library and get a United States Code or United States Code annotated off the shelf, you'll see that the majority of the books are dealing with corporations, the cases and everything. They're dealing with corporations. But they like to paint this picture that you are crazy for thinking that. You're crazy for thinking that a legal fiction like United States could actually be up against you in court when United States is a construct of the mind. It exists only in contemplation of somebody's ability to create. But I have a constitutionally protected right to face my accuser. So if I call the United States of America to the witness stand, if I call the state of Georgia to the witness stand, if I call the state of Florida to the witness stand, if I call the state of Texas to the witness stand, who's going to walk up? I don't want to talk to your attorney. I don't want to talk to your representation. I have a right to face my accuser. And on this piece of paper, you're saying the United States versus some all caps version of me. So since you're saying that all caps version is me, okay, then that means that United States must be something tangible and physical I can talk to too. Because as a private man, I only interact with other private individuals. As a public entity, you only interact with other public entities. So you had to create some sort of corporate version of us to engage with and look at us as some sort of surety for it. It's all commercial. Isaac L., I thank you for the $10, dog. I appreciate that. So this is why constitutional law is in the public. It's not in the private. A lot of people will tell you that the Constitution is the law of the land. It's the law of the land for the government because that's who it applies to, the government. It's like a trust document. So there's no constitutional law in the private. There's no tax law in the private. Taxes are only in the public. Taxes on benefits and privileges. These are things important to know because what it does is it orders your mind. Now you're not so offensive when people talk about taxes because you know what their true purpose is and why you ending up paying it. Because if you elect to do so, you can remove yourself from that situation. But the onus is on you, not on anyone else. So what are you mad about? Okay. Administrative law. Administrative law is something that people really need to study. I have an electronic, if you're a member of SBC University, I have an electronic version of an American Jurisprudence Administrative Law. I would highly advise, if you're in study groups, that is something everybody has to study because one of your adversaries or many of your adversaries are administrative agencies. The FBI, the FBI, the CIA, the, postal inspector, whomever, okay, ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearm, any of those groups, those are all administrative agencies. TSA, Homeland Security. These are administrative agencies. So you need to understand administrative law and dealing with them and what their purpose is. Their purpose is only to vindicate public rights, not to protect private ones. They tell you that in the first 2 pages of the document. But you need to understand what it means to be private so you can understand how to maintain privacy. You can't say somebody's wrong and you're walking into their house. You can't walk into my house, brother, and then I didn't let you in, but you just walk in the house because I let the front door open, go into my kitchen, start making you a sandwich, and then when I come in and start asking you, brother, what are you doing in here? You didn't have permission to come in here. You need to compensate me for the violation that occurred, and you sit there and tell me I'm a sovereign. No, you're a sovereign in your own domain. You don't come in my domain. A sovereign is responsible for himself. A sovereign is responsible for educating his own children. A sovereign is responsible for building his own goddamn house. A sovereign is responsible for building his own transportation. A sovereign is responsible for making his own defense system. That's how they thinking. We created these guns and put serial numbers on them. We are government contractors. We build buildings. This is how they're thinking. And this is how you got to think too, because their thinking is correct. Your thinking is incorrect. You want your cake and eat it too. Or you're looking for the quick and easy way. And I just don't subscribe to any of that. I'm getting a lot of people also disgruntled about my video on the TDA account, which I'm going to have to double down and really go in on that particular subject. It just amazes me how I do all these other videos, but that one particular video I think is approaching 80,000 views. It's like, I just trip out on this. I'm like, wow, and it's still going strong. There's still people flooding in to watch it. And I'm like, God, dog, I mean, like people, that is all they want to know about is how can I get access to some money? I understand that, but that's it. Some free money, because they think it's free money. They think it's a pathway to a life where there's no pressure, that there's no anything, a carefree life. And that's why they're flooding to it like that. And for me to give them a reality dose, I become the enemy then. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me tell you something for all the people who say I don't know what I'm talking about. If you're on the internet talking about something like TDA accounts, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because that's private information. And the people who really know won't even come on the internet and talk about that shit at all. You're a damn fool if you think that. Why would they? What would be the reason? If I have access to unlimited amounts of money and all I need to do is keep my mouth shut to make sure I keep getting it, why would I come into the public and say anything to anyone? And fuck it up for everybody. Because that's all that happens every time it comes into the public, if it is true, and then huge amounts of people come to the knowledge of it, it's going to stop working very quickly. They have an underlying maxim that they have to protect the public at all costs. If they go against the public, they're going against themselves. Just like when you go against the private, you're going against yourself. These people are talking about taking private property, and you're going to love it. Private property is the foundation of private rights. That's why property rights is on the private side. Under private law, you got property law, you got contract law, you got tort law. Earlier we were talking about an injury. An injury, that's what a tort is, an injury. We got family law. We got private international law. These are on the private side of things. What governs us on the private side is contract. All interaction between individuals is contractual in nature. When we start to interact with each other. That's why contract law is on the private law. The only thing a man can give and take at the same time is his word. The only thing a man can give and take at the same time is his word. You putting your words down on a piece of paper, that means something when you verify it. In other words, when you swear to it under penalty of perjury. All anybody got to do is to get that paper and put their name on it and file and see, then the game of life begins. I said this very thing about the Brandon Joe Williams guy who pays to advertise his info on Facebook. And, it's like, yeah, man, it's like, I try to bring common sense and sensible stuff, because people do get erratic. Like, I have 25,000 people in my Facebook group, and I police that group a lot. I'm over there a lot watching the comments, and I can see people start posting outrageous things. I take down their comment, and then I give them a warning and put them on quiet time for a couple of days where they can't post anything. I'm over there policing that account because people will start, because when you got that many people, there's a potential for abuse. From the old school, we know this. A lot of people who are just coming into this information, they don't understand this. They will put plants within your groups. They'll put plants out there to plant information in your group. You got a Facebook group, they have somebody join and just start posting information that is incorrect so they can get you arrested. They try to identify dissenters. Who are the dissenters of this New World Order? Who more than anyone who's claiming to be sovereign? Think about this. If they trying to introduce a New World Order and you over here talking about you sovereign, that's the biggest fucking threat that they could face, is people thinking like that. But you must know the law. Best channel on YouTube. Obviously, this information ain't for everybody, especially not for people who don't study. And that is very true. The people don't, and that's why I'm going through this step by step, because I know there are people that don't study, but a lot of times that couldn't be just from laziness. That could be from not understanding how their brain works. Let me tell you how your brain works for those who are interested. Very few people can read something the first time, especially when it is radically new information, and completely understand it the first time. Very few people. The difference is some people push through and let repetition be their teacher, and others just give up because they've been reinforced with some sort of programming that it is beyond their ability, when everybody has the same ability. All it requires, repetition is the key to learning. So the first time you hear something, the brain cells in your brain have not formed in patterns that are receptive to the information. But as you keep repeating it, like reading the paper over and over again, where you get these aha moments, that's because the brain cells in the brain have now reformed themselves in a way that now it's receptive to the information. And then you experience this aha moment where all of a sudden you understand the information. So you have to understand it's repetition. You can't learn something and read it just one time. You have to read a document 7 times. I would read some of these documents I'm telling you to read. I'd read them at least once every day, sometimes twice. In the morning when I wake up and in the night before I go to bed, all 24 pages. That's how I know it so well. That's why I can direct you where to go in the document, find this information. I send you all kind of places. Very few people though really go and look because they're not really interested in putting things to action. They just have some sort of intellectual curiosity about the information because it sounds good. It sounds empowering. But nothing is empowering unless you put it into practice. How is property law private when they charge you property tax? Well, because you registered it. It's registered in the public. You registered it in the public. You don't have a allodial title to it. But property wasn't with the government at first. Property was with the people. All land was owned by private individuals. As a matter of fact, those are the only people that could vote. Was people who own land. All this land is when 1933 is when people started coming out of the country after Carnegie, the steel magnate. They started developing cities, and people started coming out of the country, leaving their property or putting mortgages on their property for debt notes and things like that from the bank. And then what they did is how they bankrupt the country in 1933. You got to go and read about that, how all that went down. Okay, they stole the people's land. There was a lot of cases I was reading on this where there were people trying to hang some of them judges from the church outside the courthouse. Some of them did succeed in doing it because of what they were doing. That's how angry people were. People have been pacified a lot today. So we don't understand what is going on. We don't understand that the main key of communism is the elimination of private property. That's why you see everybody talking about socialism, communism, Marxism. That's why that discussion is going on so heavily, because there are people who understand that the left are communists. They're Marxists. They're Marxists. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that as an educated person who has studied Marxism, who has looked at the platform of the Democratic Party and understand it. It's communism. You want to keep people dependent on government. That's what communism is. You want to, I'm on the internet, I'm watching YouTube, and it's commercial after commercial talking about, oh, government is giving away $5,600. They're giving away $6,000. All you need to qualify is be a citizen. That's all they said. They just want you to be a citizen. Look, we give you things. Yeah, we just borrowed $380 billion and gave it over to Ukraine. But you know what? We're going to take $1 billion of that and cut it up into 350 million pieces and hand each one of y'all a check. Don't you see how considerate we are of you? See how considerate we are of you? They are so considerate of you. Man, come on, man. You got to stop falling for this. You got to stop falling for this. Every 4 years I've been watching it, people, the same thing happen. They start bringing up some racist topics. Somebody gets shot. They make it some sort of spectacle where you will never stop and think and really go into these press conferences and press these people on real questions with real questions to things. They don't want to get no real questions, especially not on television. They'll take a bullshit question. They'll do something like if you're playing the victim, because as long as you're playing the victim, you need them. You need somebody to come to your rescue. And who better than the government? So that's why they love the victim mentality. They love the victim mentality. All these things are tools they utilize to get people into this communist type system that they're trying to bring in. Mizelle Ewing, thank you for the $10. If people slow down, pay attention, they would see the administrative process is all around us. Some of us should be familiar with it from the joint military or being in unions account. That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. You had to put in a BP 11, BP 12, BP 13, BP 4. They take you through the process. You know, you got to. This is what they call it. You have to exhaust your administrative remedies before you can go judicial. That's what the judicial branch will tell you. Man, you run into so much stuff to let you know this is all Article 1. It's just pathetic that you have these attorneys and these fucking lapdogs that come on my video constantly posting stuff and trying to tell me that I'm wrong. Sir, you do not possess my level of intelligence. You just don't, man. I read your stuff. I'm looking at you. Your ability to reason is just too inferior to mine. Your ability to perception. Either I got to take it at that or you just being deceptive. You really know the truth and you're just sitting there lying like a demon. But you can't be this stupid. You can't be this stupid. If you are this stupid, I just can't even have a conversation with you. So I'm trying to give you the benefit of a doubt by calling you a devil. I'm at least saying that I think you're smart enough to know better by calling you a devil. Because there ain't nobody be this goddamn stupid. Facing a writ of possession from my home after the court had sold my interest in the property. I don't know what you mean sold your interest. You've defaulted on an obligation is what they're saying. You have a mortgage. You have a deed of trust and you have a mortgage. In that mortgage, it specifies specific performance. And if you didn't do that, then there had to be remedies you need to access. One of them could have been, set off of the property. There is a, what is this says, rescind a contract. I have to look it up. You can rescind a contract. You can only do it, though, within 3 years of receiving the mortgage. But there are different remedies available to you, is my point, if you study about it. But you want to do an administrative process no matter what that is. Because the administrative process is an evidence-gathering tool. It substantiates your position by providing physical evidence, documented proof of what it is that you do. It also lets everybody know that if we're going to have this resolved in equity, that you have clean hands and you've acted in good faith. You have to be able to demonstrate these things. For a matter to be resolved, it must be expressed. It has to be put into writing. So that's what the administrative process is founded on, that principle, that to get a remedy, we need a contract. The administrative process is an agreement. It ends in an agreement that constitutes a contract, an agreement of the parties. Another reason why we're going in equity court. So you can draft your administrative process any way that you choose. I believe that creditors and their bonds provides an excellent template for that process. You can flesh that process out, but utilize that as a template because they understand in their letter writing that everything goes on one page. All right. You say everything you need to say with one page. You don't be behind these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages of information thinking that more is better, when in actuality, it's just going to end up in the circular file. Because I wouldn't read all that shit. Everybody in this day and age has a short attention span. Make sure you cater to that in your administrative process. And as I said, the second half of creditors and their bonds, I think, provides an excellent example of how to do that. When the jackboot of government is on your neck, does it matter if it's a left or right? Yeah, it does, because they always got to give you a choice. See, this is a free will universe, and right now you're being judged on your decisions that you make. They always got to put a choice in front of you. It's a free will universe. So yeah, they have a left and a right for the reason, and there's a reason they have different ideologies. Whether they are behind the scenes acting in concert is irrelevant. It's the fact that they have to give you a choice. The choices you've given you, they putting that in front of you. Let's see if they choose this or they're gonna choose this over here. I'm not right wing because I'm biased toward it or because I'm a Trump lover or something like that. That's a result of studying the law. That's a result of understanding common law. That's a result of understanding the principles on which this country was founded upon. That's a result of understanding what freedom is, of knowing that we have a free country. And in a free country, you're going to have racism. You're going to have prejudice because that's called right of association. People don't have to hang with other people if they don't want to. People have a right to only be with white people. The only thing they don't have a right to is if they're receiving some sort of government funding. Now the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment applies. But if it's a private matter, you can do whatever you want to in the private. And there are people who don't like that because they don't feel like they will be protected, that everybody's a threat. They're a constant victim. So I'm going to roll with communism or Marxism because this is going to elimination of private rights. And once we have everybody's private property rights eliminated, they have to do what government tells them to do. There won't be an option. It's easy to decipher when you see and you understand this stuff, they got to think you stupid because only a third or fourth grader would fall for it. It's not even that intelligent to me. It's like they had to dumb down people to get them to fall for it. That's why there's a dumbing down going in society because this shit is so ignorant, and it is so ungodly. That's one of the major another pillar of communism is the elimination of religion. That's right in the Communist Manifesto. So you see them shitting on all the religions. Oh, that book don't mean nothing. You just see it spreading like wildfire over the internet. People just I don't care if I don't believe in your religion. I always show the ultimate respect for people's different religions. If I'm with their religion or not, because that's their belief. And I'm going to be respectful of that, because I'm going to be respectful of anyone who is attempting to serve the creator of the balanced universe in any capacity. Every person is free of choice, not of consequence. That's absolutely correct. That's cause and effect. Thank you for the 5 bones, Mazille Ewing. That is absolutely correct. Cause and effect dictates that. There's a cause and effect with everything. For every effect, there's a cause. For every cause, there's an effect. There's an effect to every decision that you make. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're willing to face the consequences. That is why you have to always know the cause and effect of whatever you engage in, because to do otherwise would be admitting that you're acting in ignorance. Mazelle Ewing, every person is free of choice, not of cons. Yep. So let's see, it says, creditors and their bonds is great, man. Got to go actually become a secure party, start making that distinction from public and private. Tyrannical government is part of why we have the Second Amendment. Well, that's true. That's absolutely correct. The Second Amendment is for the people to have some sort of arms in case they need to rise up against the government. This is what they call the insurrection at Capitol Hill was truly about. Anyone who has read the Declaration of Independence understands what it is that these people were acting in, that spirit right there. It was a perception that the government had been, the election had been stolen. But they want to downplay that, even though they had 1,000 affidavits, and affidavits are evidence because it's something sworn to under penalty of perjury. But the judges wouldn't even let you have a court case because somebody is powerfully pulling the strings behind the curtain. It was very obvious that the election was stolen. Joe Biden didn't have that much support, not like Donald Trump. So people reacted as they felt was their patriotic duty to do, because we have a representative form of government. We have a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So if one of the people is acting up, we have the right to remove his ass from office. And if he doesn't want to go peacefully, then he can be removed forcibly. This is what, because this is our country. Okay, this is the people's country. It is not government's country. It is not Mr. Attorney's country. It is not Mr. Police Officer's country. It's the people's country. And we are allowing them to do things for us within that country. They are receiving a benefit and a privilege. It's a privilege to work in the public and to serve the people. It is a mistake to suppose that all men want to be free. On the contrary, if freedom entails responsibility, many of them want none of it. They would happily exchange their liberty for security, and you're absolutely correct. And that's why people have jobs. That's why people work at jobs, because jobs is a form of security. And freedom requires too much responsibility. It requires you getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It requires you build that website. It requires you to post those links in certain groups every day. It requires you to be on time every day at the exact time of whatever business that you're engaged in. It requires that you go through a period where you're probably not going to make that much money. It requires you to go through a period where you might mess up and make a bad decision and almost kill your business. And only your resiliency will put you back on track. Yeah, everybody don't want to go through that. So they rather work their job and have security. All right, let's keep going. So we know what a right is, and we know what a remedy is, and we know what public and private is. All right, public and private, you have natural law, then you have positive law, and then you have substantive law, and then on this side you have procedural law, which is another name for remedial law, and then from substantive law, you have public law and private law, and public law is constitutional law, criminal law, administrative law, tax law, public international law, and private law is contract law, tort law, property law, status law, family law, private international law, public and private. When you can do what I just did, where in your mind's eye, you can see the chart very clearly in your mind's eye and understand on what side is what, it's going to be rooted in you then. Ain't nothing nobody can say to you. Because every time somebody says something, as soon as they say, well, you know, my child support, my mind going to switch over to the private side of the family law. It's just going to do that. My mind just automatically is bouncing from public to private. Who has plenary power in what domain? If it's their domain, I know they got the power. If it's our domain, we got the power. But ignorant people operate as if they got the same amount of power in both domains, and you don't. This is why they're telling you that sovereign citizens think they don't have to follow the law. They're right in that respect. They're right in that respect. They're right. You can't argue with them because they have a delegation of authority from us, from the Constitution. The Constitution is the document that governs the public. They got a delegation of authority. Now, they do look for creative ways to expand that delegation of authority, namely like the Commerce Clause, which is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. They're trying to make everything commercial, so it falls within their purview. That's some good water. House Resolution 918, let's go. I don't know what that is. Allowing the hijack the government, okay. Remove corruption. Mr. Yusef, is the UCC1 filing the right way to make an injury claim? No, you're not making a claim with a UCC1 filing. A UCC1 is there to establish a priority interest in property, private, personal property. So it's just a notice to the public that you have a priority interest in property. What governs it is the contract. There has to be some sort of security agreement. And what is in that agreement? You can't file a UCC1 unless there's a contract in existence. So when you go to our website, you see that's why we have a security agreement. You fill out the security agreement first, and then you file the UCC1. The security agreement is referenced in the UCC1, which is a contract between you and the artificial all caps name entity that you are a surety for. So, yeah. $20, Felix. Socialist Democrats, with the help of Rhino, Republicans are ushering in an authoritarian, totalitarian global government. Yeah, because you're letting them. Your decisions you're making. You're saying that that's the kind of government you want. You're not giving no examples. I don't see a lot of examples in the. Go get on the internet and look at how many views they have on CNN's YouTube page and MSNBC. That's what I look at. It's like they got a lot of people fooled. And because people don't know. That's why that's why I'm doing this, because people don't know what public, you know how many people don't know the difference between public and private, those things I just said? They don't even know the difference. They still don't think it matters. Look at the people in the chat trying to find a way to diminish that. By which just both sides on an evil side, instead of they don't want no accountability. It's like, they if they're all on the same side, they still have to give you a choice. And based off of the decisions that everybody's making, it makes them comfortable moving forward. Because if we made them uncomfortable moving forward, they would not do it. But they ain't been made to feel uncomfortable moving forward. It says, I came across this whole process in the 1990s, but Yusef, you're the person that's really want to go all the way in with this process. Well, I just want people to understand it. It's real easy to me. It's just I see a lot of people don't understand how to do it. And then a lot of people don't understand why they're doing it, because they expect they're going to do something and then just magic happens. You got to being a sovereign individual, you really do need to know how to speak for yourself in court and defend yourself in any situation. You got to be educated. You got to be educated, highly educated. And a lot of people come into this space and think that they can just do what somebody tell them to do it. You're like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's not, That's why there's that's why there's such a high amount of case law on the books that talking about sovereign citizens, even in the Moorish community too, where people choose the nationality defense. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but the way that it's utilized is wrong. They're not doing it the right way. And that's in both camps. He says, I came across this whole, what is this? It says, man, law is one of the things where you, like the public at large, just believe what just wants to believe, and that there's only one form of action and there's only one form of action, a form of law. But the truth is there are many. Yeah, there are. And that is true too. They just think that, I agree with you. I thought like that. That's why, you teach. A person teaches because he knows where people are at because he was there. I remember when I was in ignorance. I remember just how I thought about all these things. I remember how I thought that the Republican Party was the party of wealthy, rich, prejudiced white people, and the Democratic Party was the party of the people. But the Republican Party is the one that freed the slaves. Democratic Party one made the Ku Klux Klan. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you go have these, you just got, you just think in ignorance for such a way. And then when you find out the truth, it just makes you okay. I understand the part I played in all of this. You understand the part and you accept that responsibility, then you're on your way. It says, in the house versus at the mall is what people think. Yeah. It says, good night, God. Could you shed any light on the person looking to do a status change from a person from the island who got citizenship through parents? From the island who got citizenship through parents. I mean, your citizenship is where you were born. That's what the birth certificate represents. Now, if you're talking about citizenship such as a social compact that in the public, okay, which all nations have, because when people come together in large numbers, the welfare of the many is what overrides the welfare of the one or the few. So they got to look out for the welfare of everyone and not just for you. So that's what the public's focus is on. And, so when you talk about status correction, as opposed to a person with citizenship born into citizenship, that's what kind of threw me off, because if you were just born and you didn't get a social security number or anything like that, well, you just by default, you are, a citizen of the country or the land, But if a person doing a status correction is some person who's accepted some sort of benefit and privilege that allows for the presumption of a contractual nexus to exist that requires some sort of specific performance from you. And so if they have that status, the status correction in that particular situation is addressing those minimum contacts that allows them to have this presumption of your status. Once again, for a matter to be resolved, it must be expressed. So it has to be put into writing. And then you want to establish some sort of verification method, such as using an administrative process where you have a notary as a witness and a form PS 311 or whatever. What is that? PS 311 form, the green slip that you get back from the post office. Those are witnesses. So that's verifiable proof that you have done an act, such as give a notice to government to establish what your status is as opposed to what they presume it is. We're rebutting a presumption with a fact. Thank you for your extensive library and lessons on your website. Thank you for taking time to do these live shows. I appreciate that, Felix, and the $10. Daniel Edwards, $9.99. Yusef, God bless you, your brother. You help point the way. Humanity is moving towards its natural stasis of love and beauty in a good direction together. I know that's right, brother. Like I said, we're going to have, positivity, man. I understand why the roster is positive, my brother, positive. You want to stay in that positivity. You want us to just keep gravitating towards it. Take slow steps towards it. Just every time a situation in your life happens and it's negative, catch yourself and understand how you can turn it into a positive. How you can just start thinking of it positively in your mind. Just if you make that a practice to where it becomes a habit, then you're going to see your life start to change. Because now the universe is reflecting back to you what you're emitting out through your mind, because your mind is so immersed in positivity that positivity just keeps coming towards you. If your life is negative, you have to understand the science behind it. There's a science behind it. But we're going in a good direction. We are. I think there is a lot of positivity that is starting to occur. And hopefully I can contribute to at least helping people get a clear understanding of this information. But I appreciate the $9.99, Daniel Edwards. All right, now back to what I was saying. Let's look at the next thing we have to explore. We have to look at, what is this next thing? We got a remedy. Let's look at public next. What is the public? What is the public? All right, the public. The body politic, or the people of a state, nation, or municipality. The word derives from the Latin publicus, meaning pertaining to the people, state, or community, under the authority of the government or belonging and available to the people, not private. It may refer to an entity, agency, or activity. This distinction comes up in the context of public and private schools, public and private utilities, public and private hospitals, public and private lands, and public and private roads. For example, in California versus San Luis Obispo Sportsman Association, the section relating to public fishing to mean state-owned land, the use of which by which the state is also compatible with use of by the public, and that only property which is being used for a special purpose that is incompatible with its use by the public, for example, lands used for prisons or mental institutions, does not fall within the scope of the constitutional provision. That was pretty interesting right there. All right? So the public is government. When you hear the word public, it means government. It means government, okay? So private means no government, absence of government. The government is not involved. But there has to be something that regulates your behavior, and that's why religion is there. That's why there's a separation of church and state. Religion is in the private. That's a private matter. But you have to have some sort of religion because it's going to kind of guide your conduct as it relates to your fellow man. It establishes some sort of moral foundation within the individual, within the intelligent man. Let's look at this next thing. Let's look at legal person real quick. Legal person. In law, a legal person is any person or thing, less ambiguously, any legal entity that can do the things a human person is usually able to do in law, such as enter into contracts, sue and be sued, own property, and so on. The reason for the term legal person is that some legal persons are not people. Companies and corporations are persons, legally speaking. They can legally do most of the things an ordinary person can do, but they are not people in a literal sense, human beings. Now, this is what we're saying when we're talking about the straw man. It's a legal person. It's not a human being. We see that you're making the distinction of that by putting the name in all caps. And it's the only thing that makes sense. There has to be some sort of distinction between public and private, between the artificial and the real. Y'all use grammar to communicate all the time. There are therefore two kinds of legal entities, human and non-human. In law, a human person is called a natural person, sometimes also a physical person. And a non-human person is called a juridical person, sometimes also a juristic, artificial, legal, or fictitious person, Latin persona ficta. Okay, look at the next one. I think this next one is okay. Uh-oh. Prerequisite. There it is right there. Okay, legal person. A legal personality is a prerequisite to legal capacity. The ability of any legal person to amend, namely enter into, transfer, etc., rights and obligations. It is a prerequisite for an international organization to be able to sign international treaties in its own name. The term legal person can be ambiguous because it is often used as a synonym of terms that refer only to non-human legal entities, specifically in contradistinction to natural person. And that's why it can be ambiguous. And most of the time, that's what it is referring to when it's being utilized by the government. Because government can only interact with the real can only interact with the real, and the fiction can only interact with the fiction. Come on, man, don't sit here and make an argument for that. Don't make an argument for the fiction can interact with the real. That's something you made up in your mind can interact with me. If you got away with that for a long time, I can't. Hey, the people are dumb. Let's see. Your wealth of knowledge is appreciated. Keep exposing these devil tricks. Appreciate that, Jeddah, Texas. All right. The question is to Yusef, what do you mean by surety? Surety, a surety. Someone responsible for a debt. Like when you co-sign on something, like when you co-sign for somebody to buy a car. If they don't pay for it, you pay for it. That's called a novation. What they did was they did a novation because the U.S. debt is not our debt. It's the debt of the federal government. But they made us responsible for that debt through a process called novation, and where they exchanged themselves for being the debtor to us being the debtor. And they did that by offering benefits and privileges, and the New Deal was for us to be the surety for the national debt because we couldn't provide for ourselves. That's what the Great Depression was all about. American citizens' inability to provide for themselves, so they had to go for government. So that was the birth of the welfare state. Welfare state is communism. It's socialism. They're growing and growing every year, bigger and bigger and bigger. It's kind of scary to me when I study it and just see how far they progressed and how bold they are now. There used to be a time they would never come out publicly and admit to being a Marxist or a socialist or something like that. Now they just boldly, there's people in government who think like this. It's incredible to me. I'm like, damn. Remember when John Galt said they type everything in all caps because that's how they programmed it in the computers? Yeah, you're going to get some sort of a ridiculous response. Like that answers the question. Why did they program it like that in the computers? What was the reason for it? And if it was an accident, well, how come they haven't corrected it? A human is a monster or a beast. Yeah, that comes out of, I believe that comes out of, what is that, Black's Law, 3rd edition, maybe? Is that 3rd edition? 4th edition? A human is a monster? That's actually in the law dictionary, y'all. That guy who posted that. Okay, James Moore is a sovereign, a natural person. A sovereign is a man. Why you have to modify person? Why can't you just say human being? That would be my question to them. A person is not a human being, so if you put a modifier on it like naturally, that doesn't automatically convert it into a person, a real human flesh. A person is a persona. It is a mask that is worn. So if I say natural persona, that's not making that a real living human man or woman. You could say it's referencing that, but it's not. The fiction interacts with the fiction and the real with the real. That's what we just call it private. Privacy is the domain of real living souls who can touch each other and interact and exchange goods and services, procreate, and do all that. Those are real living people. The corporate entities are fictitious insofar as that's people coming together, forming entities in order to prosecute some sort of business or some sort of interest in something. Yes, in Ballantyne's Law Dictionary. Okay, yeah, that's right. It is in Ballantyne's. So is a secure party a surety or one who has party interest in the debtor? He does have party interest in the debtor, and he is the surety. All right. He's the creditor. He did this through agreement. Everything that you just asked me, you would understand if you read the security agreement because it tells the duties and responsibilities of the secure party, what obligation he owes to the debtor and what the debtor owes to the secure party. But if you read the security agreement, you would know that. Most people don't read the security agreement. They just sign a name on it and file it. But that's a good question because at least it allows me to know that you following the information very, very strictly. You know, at least that, you know, whether that was, you know, that question was passive aggressive or not, it's still the truth. You know, it's like, lets me know you are paying attention. But there is an answer, and the answer is in the paperwork, and that's why that's why I want you to read the paperwork, because you do need to read some of this stuff on your own. I've already read it 1,000 times. I've read it. You need to read it for yourself. So then you'd understand, okay, that I do have a priority perfected interest in property that gives value to my negotiable instruments. Now I am creating money through debt. And I'm also honoring or exercising a right that is protected by United 31 U.S.C. 5118, which is HJR 192 of June 5th, 1933, where the government would discharge something dollar for dollar. It all fits together like a puzzle. What time is it? What time is it? I can't stay late tonight, but I want to go through, I want to make sure that we getting these foundational principles. There's a public and a private, all right? You have to know what a right is and a remedy, why we're doing an administrative process. And we're going to have to go over how to do paperwork too. We're going to have to go over that, how to, file paperwork, how to put your paperwork together, how to make it look professional, how to make it not sound like some sovereign citizen shit, but you still convey the message that you want to convey without saying some shit. And this is, the real living man, Chuck Yeager, here in defense of, just talking like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to talk like that. You don't need to talk like that. You don't have to talk like that. 50-year journey, $100. Oh, big player in the house. I appreciate that. 50-year journey. Peace, brother. What is your thought on agency? What do you think of a man/woman becoming an agent of the all caps name, sending notice to the principal trustees, and you will take on the position and forward all the correspondences for them to handle, namely bills, etc.? Okay, that whole concept, we introduced that on High Frequency Radio about 5 years ago. There was a white gentleman who said that you're the registered agent. Y'all using the word agency, but what you're referencing is you're the registered agent. Okay, so you're the agent of the property of the all caps name, and then of course that corporation is registered with a certain Secretary of State. So you're creating, and the job of the registered agent is to send notices to the principal. So yeah, that was very big for a while. There were a lot of people that were subscribing to that. I still think that is the situation, but it's just the same thing we do in Secure Party. But it's just that y'all like to use different terminology, but it's the same thing. See, I look at people's ability to be able to discern the similarities in things. What the unintelligent man tends to do is he looks for the differences in things. That's why, in that being anything, whether it be religion, this information and different processes, but the intelligent man is going to look for the similarities, because therein is where you find principles being followed and adhered to. And principles is what underlie anything that is done properly. It's an acknowledgement and an honoring of the principles that substantiate it. And so the thing with the principle behind you being some sort of registered agent for an all caps name artificial entity, it's still suretyship. You call a registered agent, you still some sort of surety, because you're taking on some liability. It says the suffix, this denotes an action or an adjective suggesting that said action, thereby forming an action agent noun. I don't know what we're talking about, yeah. But anyway, hey, look, man, I'm going to have to get off now. I've been in long enough. I'm going to continue this tomorrow. So be ready for part 2 to this. Tomorrow at around the same time, I'm running part 2 to this. We're just going to leave off. We're going to keep going. I'm going to take off from where I am right now. Same time tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Be here. Okay? I got to go. Peace to the gods and goddesses. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for all the donations. And I'll see you on the next live. Peace.